After months of speculation, Joe Biden is about to officially announce that he is running for president. Sources tell CBS News the former vice president will make the announcement in a video Thursday. Biden, who is 76 years old, leads the field in many polls, but his late entrance means he enters the race with a significant fundraising gap. Let's bring in CBSN political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns. She's with us today from Houston, where a number of Democratic candidates are speaking. Hi, Caitlin. Set the stage for Biden's entrance into this race for us, if you will.
Right. Well, I'm here at the She the People Forum, which is a forum focused on women of color. And I think that says a lot about the field that Joe Biden is going to be entering. This is one of the most diverse Democratic fields that we've ever seen. Remember, Joe Biden first announced his first run for presidency in 1987. And this kind of forum demonstrates how drastically, really, the party has changed. So a lot of candidates here are asked about what they would do for women of color specifically, and that they are the backbone, really, of this Democratic Party. So the diversity of this field is going to be presenting a specific set of challenges for Joe Biden. And the question for him getting into the race is always, where does he fit in a Democratic Party that has shifted demographically, on issues, on ideology, kind of how does he fit in there? But, he is going to be making the bet and the pitch to voters that he's a reliable Democrat and that he can defeat Donald Trump, which we know voters are weighing very heavily in their decision. So we'll see when he makes this announcement tomorrow how people will receive that and how he fares against the rest of the field.
And it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the field has to say about it. Here's what New Jersey Senator Cory Booker said about Biden's entrance into the race.
At this point, we're seeing a lot of folks get in. I'm a former hurdler. When I'm in my lane, I don't look to the left or my right. I focus on running my race, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But I have a lot of respect for the vice president, particularly his career working with President Obama.
So, Caitlin, what are you hearing from candidates and Democratic Party officials about Biden's upcoming entrance?
I think Booker is reflective of how most of these candidates feel. On one hand, they support Joe Biden as a person. They revere him and his leadership in the party. But on the other hand, Biden has not deterred anybody from entering this race, which kind of shows you a lot about this field. They all believe that they have what it takes to take on Donald Trump, and they believe that each of them are well positioned to do that, and Biden is not going to deter them from running. So you hear a little bit of this threading the needle here, welcoming Biden into the race, praising him for his public service, but at the same time making clear that they are going to run their own individual races. So we'll see at the first debate, really, kind of how these candidates, whether and how they start taking jabs at one another, trying to position themselves in this field.
And what have local Democrats there in Texas told you about the state's role in 2020? Obviously, normally a red state, but Beto O'Rourke made a pretty good showing there in the Senate race. So what are they telling you about the state of Texas, as it were?
Well, Texas is going to be critical in the Democratic primary. It votes on March 3rd in the primary, the same day as California, so it's going to be a Super Tuesday of sorts. And Democrats feel like Texas has a lot to offer the party. I'm here in Houston, Harris County, where about a quarter of the population is African American and 45% are Latinos. So this is a demographic that is really starting to favor Democrats. And they point to the 2018 election. You mentioned Beto O'Rourke coming within 3 points of Ted Cruz in that Senate race, which really helped to bring up a lot of candidates down the ballot in congressional races and in local offices. In Harris County alone, they doubled the turnout in 2018 compared to the past midterms. So Democrats I've been talking to here on the ground, activists, leaders, those in charge of organizing efforts to get Democrats better turnout in elections, say that 2020 is going to be a year where they want to prove all of this work that they've done. Now, it is still a big uphill climb. I mean, as hard as Beto O'Rourke tried to defeat Cruz in that Senate race, he didn't quite make it. So we'll see. But in the primary, certainly, you could bet candidates are going to be coming here to Houston and throughout these cities here in Texas.
All right. Now, Caitlin, you also asked Senator Booker whether he would support Senator Bernie Sanders' plan to allow all felons to vote from prison. And here was his response.
You can see it through the legislation that I've pushed, not only for the restoration of voting rights, but the legislation I've pushed would keep people out of prison in the first place. I am tired of going around my own neighborhood, and you stop African American men, about half of them have been incarcerated. This is about ending the system of mass incarceration, or we wouldn't have to have these conversations in the first place. And so my focus is going to continue to be not what the political box-checking exercise is right now, but I am more consistent than most politicians in fighting to dismantle mass incarceration, which will ultimately empower people economically, their voting rights, their family rights, their health care rights, and more.
So he sort of dodged your question with a little bit of a non-answer there, but he is obviously passionate about reforming, the state of incarceration in this country. But going back to Sanders' position, is that one that candidates fear latching onto? And is it even popular among Democratic voters?
This has really opened up an interesting debate within the party, and this was addressed at a televised town hall for a lot of candidates, broadcast on CNN earlier this week, where candidates were asked whether they would restore voting rights for those who are currently incarcerated. And the reason that this has come up as an issue is because voting rights are really at the center of this Democratic primary. So are issues of inequality and mass incarceration. But it obviously puts candidates in a little bit of a tricky position when asked if of those currently incarcerated should be given the right to vote. So Kamala Harris said that she wants to have this conversation, but later she said that as a prosecutor, she believes that she doesn't want to go that far necessarily. Pete Buttigieg said that he wants voting rights for felons who are released, but not for those currently incarcerated. We talked to Beto O'Rourke about this and Julian Castro, and they both said that they would like to see voting rights for those who are incarcerated but not convicted of serious violent crimes. So there is a little bit of a leeway there, but you could tell by Cory Booker trying to kind of have it a few different ways there by trying to talk about kind of the systemic problem of mass incarceration. So look for this to be an issue that more candidates are asked about, and we'll be watching to see how they answer it.
Absolutely. Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you so much. Keep up the good work there in Texas.
Thank you.